Energy Secretary Chris Wright visited Los Alamos National Labs on Monday within the first few weeks of his tenure. As thousands of federal workers living in New Mexico face the fear of losing their jobs, state secretaries call on those laid off to file claims with the New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions. After being approved by the House, a $10.8 billion budget plan is on its way to the New Mexico Senate. And leaders react to reports of a Border Patrol inspection of a bus carrying a high school swim team. From the Albuquerque Journal, this is the leading news. I'm Gino Gutierrez. It's Tuesday, February 25th, 2025, and I'll have more on those stories in a few moments, plus a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast on the other side of this break.
This episode is brought to you by the Kirtland Partnership Committee. For 30 years, we've been dedicated to supporting, growing, and preserving the Kirtland National Security Complex. We work tirelessly to enhance military readiness, foster community partnerships, improve quality of life, and promote economic development right here in New Mexico. Join us in our mission to ensure that Kirtland remains a cornerstone of national security and a key provider of quality jobs and investment for all of Greater Albuquerque. Together, we can make a powerful impact. Kirtland Partnership Committee, proudly shaping the future of our national security for 30 years.
Energy Secretary Chris Wright visited Los Alamos National Laboratory on Monday, assuring that New Mexico's two national labs, Los Alamos and Sandia, will not face immediate impacts from federal layoffs or budget cuts. This visit fulfills a promise Wright made to Senator Martin Heinrich during his confirmation hearing. During his visit, Wright emphasized the importance of artificial intelligence, calling it, quote, the next Manhattan Project, and stressing its critical role in defense, economics, and science.
This is an incredibly fast-moving science and pace, and it's critical that we win this race as well. It's equally harrowing if we end out second and behind in AI. It's hard to overstate the importance and the impact AI will have.
A longtime fossil fuel executive with experience in fracking and geothermal energy, Wright also discussed modernizing the U.S. nuclear arsenal. His first secretarial order, signed on February 5th, focuses on nuclear modernization, including plutonium pit production at Los Alamos, as well as strengthening the nation's electrical grid. While the Trump administration and Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency are reducing the federal workforce, Wright assured that national lab operations will remain largely unaffected. However, some lawmakers, including Representative Melanie Stansbury, have expressed concerns about potential federal employee cuts impacting lab operations. Despite recent layoffs at the National Nuclear Security Administration, which oversees nuclear weapons and labs, Wright confirmed that no DOJ employees have been granted access to sensitive national lab data. He also did not clarify how the administration's plans to eliminate the Department of Energy Grid Deployment Office aligns with his goal of strengthening the electrical grid. Wright, who has been fascinated by nuclear physics since high school, toured Los Alamos' key facilities, including the plutonium pit production site, the dual-axis radiographic hydrodynamic test facility, and the Manhattan Project National Historic Park. He jokingly mentioned that he would apply for a job at the lab if given the chance. State officials on Monday announced that around 140 federal workers in New Mexico have filed for unemployment after losing their jobs due to cuts under President Donald Trump's administration. The layoffs are linked to efforts by the U.S. Department of Government Efficiency to shrink federal agencies. With approximately 30,000 federal employees in the state, officials warn that more layoffs could follow, particularly among the 2,200 probation workers. Sarita Nair, Secretary of the New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions, urged affected workers to file unemployment claims even if their approval isn't guaranteed.
If you've lost your job with a federal agency or with a federal contractor, we want everyone to file an unemployment insurance claim. Now, we don't know if it will be granted or not, but that gives us the ability to connect with you. Each claim is decided on its own facts, and this also gives us the ability to contact you for recruitment and hiring fairs and other activities that we'll have going on.
Additionally, the State Personnel Office is offering support for those seeking state employment. Economic Development Secretary-designate Rob Black emphasized that private employers are looking to hire, and the state is working to subsidize new hires through its job training incentive programs. He also expressed concerns about the economic impacts to cuts to the National Park Service and Forest Service, which affect tourism and local economies.
Last year, we had about $3.2 billion of economic activity that took place with our outdoor recreation part of our economy. We are very concerned that while, yes, there's these job cuts that are coming, but if it means that Carlsbad Taverns has to be closed for multiple days a week, that's going to impact the surrounding community of Carlsbad, the region, tourism coming to the state. So we are concerned that not only is it the impact on those individuals, which is severe, but it has a broader impact and ripple across our economy.
The Department of Workforce Solutions is treating the rise in unemployment claims similarly to a natural disaster, with dedicated teams ready to handle federal unemployment cases. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham reassured layoff workers that state agencies are mobilizing to provide job assistance, education, and training to help them transition into new opportunities. If you like hearing all of the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal here on the Leading News, consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal. You can check our show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription and keep up with all the latest news from New Mexico's leading news source. New Mexico's House approved a $10.8 billion budget bill on Monday, advancing it to the Senate for further revisions. The plan increases state spending by $595 million, or 5.8%, and prioritizes education, including pay raises for starting teacher salaries from $50,000 to $55,000. It also boosts pay for veteran teachers and allocates significant funding to K-12 schools. Over 40% of the budget is allocated for K-12 education, but as Albuquerque Journal Capitol Bureau Chief Dan Boyd explains, when the budget bill was being heard on the House floor, many critics argued that money will not fix all of New Mexico's education issues. But proponents argue that increasing teacher salaries will also make the profession more attractive.
One theme we did hear during today's debate on the House floor as well, some people saying, we've increased spending, what do we kind of have to show for it? On the other hand, I think proponents would say we have seen some incremental progress on these issues. And obviously, as we're kind of coming out of the pandemic, education is one area that New Mexico has struggled in, frankly, on a national rankings. This would be kind of a newest increase in teacher salaries. The state already increased starting teacher pay a few years ago, but yeah, moving it up to $55,000 a year for minimum starting teacher pay. Also, all state workers would get a 4% salary increase, and teachers would get that as well. So definitely trying to kind of benefit the workforce, kind of bring more new teachers into the fold and make it a more attractive profession.
Republicans proposed an alternative budget that included lower spending and a $600 dividend check for all residents, arguing that direct payments would benefit constituents more. However, Democrats rejected the plan, citing concerns over its legality under the state's anti-donation clause and its potential cuts to economic development and water projects. The budget debate touched on various issues, including conservation efforts, rising egg prices, but the proposed dividend checks drew some of the sharpest exchanges. While Republicans argued for returning more money directly to taxpayers, Democrats emphasized investing in long-term state programs. New Mexico's spending surge is fueled by record-high revenues from the booming oil industry in the Permian Basin, which now accounts for 35% of state revenue. Despite increased spending, lawmakers also set aside funds in trust accounts for future use. The Senate is expected to modify the budget before both chambers negotiate a final version to send to Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham before the session ends on March 22nd. A New Mexico high school swim team was reportedly questioned by Border Patrol agents at a highway checkpoint near Las Cruces on February 21st while traveling to Albuquerque for a competition. According to reports, an agent boarded their unmarked charter bus and directly questioned students, some in Spanish rather than addressing only the driver or chaperones, as is typical. Witnesses described the encounter as aggressive, with agents demanding proof of citizenship. Congressman Gabe Vasquez, a Democrat, condemned the incident, calling for an explanation from Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and seeking clarification on protocol for questioning minors.
But I think the important takeaway from this event is that we want to prevent this from becoming the norm. We cannot live in a militarized state in the border just because of who we are and the way we look and the binational and the bilingual community that we have. The border is as American as apple pie, and it is part of the United States, and we have a unique culture here, we have a unique language, and we deserve to live in peace just like the rest of the residents in this country live.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection defended the stop as a routine immigration inspection, stressing the importance of checkpoints in enforcing immigration laws. Republican Party of New Mexico Chairwoman Amy Barella criticized Vasquez's response as divisive and unfair to law enforcement.
They felt like the congressman was essentially essentially throwing law enforcement under the bus.
My colleague Algernon DeMassa covers southern New Mexico for the Journal.
By raising these questions and using words like harassment to describe what happened, but the congressman is pretty resolute in saying that this is a border community, but it's still part of the United States where everybody has civil rights.
Las Cruces Public Schools Superintendent Ignacio Ruiz acknowledged the fear and uncertainty that the students experienced, but assured the community that the district is working with authorities to prevent similar incidences. The district reaffirmed its commitment to ensuring that all students, regardless of immigration status, feel safe while participating in school activities. Now taking a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast. Today you can expect sunny skies with a high near 74, and this evening partly cloudy with a low around 38. To keep up with all the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal, you can visit our website at abqjournal.com. I'm Gino Gutierrez. The leading news will be back tomorrow.